Hope YouTube. So in this video today, this is going to be another part of the hopefully starting your business series. I want to talk about in this episode customers. So it's not a sucking egg series, you know, it's stuff that I've learned, and also I think it's worth talking about because sometimes you don't see this posted online, and it is sometimes again one of them that if you just don't know, you don't know. So hopefully it'll fill in the blanks for you guys. So customers, they're the lifeblood of your business. This whole series is going to be put into a playlist, and then hopefully if you're just starting out, or even if you've been doing it a while and you just want somebody else's opinion on the matter, then the information will be there. So customers, they're the lifeblood of your, basically your business. And I think how I see it is that you are like a shepherd and the customers is your flock. You might have, just the same as a farmer or a shepherd might have a couple of unruly sheep. You'll never ever have a perfect herd or a perfect flock. You'll always have a couple troublemakers, a couple of people who, you know, drag their feet, you know, not so much troublemakers, but you know what I mean. Well, you will have actually, because you'll get them. So you need to sort of understand and see the benefit of, it's not all about numbers, you know, it's not quantity, it's quality. You know, the last thing you want is to have 100 people on your books that are brilliant, you know, that 50 of them are terrible, or late payers, or the low payers, and you're rushing around like a blue-arsed fly trying to keep up with people like this. You know, it's the worst thing that you can have. So this is when it becomes essential to basically managing the flock. And it's the same with deer park managers. You know, they pluck out the, you know, the older weak, the whatever. And I'm not saying you should do that with your customers, as in pluck them out, get rid of them, kill them. But I mean, anything that's detrimental to the overall flock, and that's you. So anybody that's causing problems, stressing you out, you just don't like being there, they're constantly late paying, get rid of them, because overall it'll make you better. And when you're working at 110%, so will your flock, because it does trickle down. So understanding that and getting that into your head, I think, is important. So I think as a gardener, I honestly think people skills are very important. You don't need, and I always say people skills, and if you've watched my channel for a while, or if you're just new, I like to have not a friendly personal approach, as in you're trying to make friends with them and be the best mates. It's not so much that, it's more so that, you know, I'll ask how the day is with genuine interest. You know, I might have a chat with them after for a couple of minutes. You know, we're not trying to be mates with people, but I think it does help to build basically a bit of rapport with people. So I think you do need some form of basic communication skills, and, you know, and a bit of sort of warmth as well, basically. So ask how the day is, ask how they are, and you've got to remember, if you've got bad people skills, it's from the very get-go, you are, you know, selling yourself. So you'll be turning up there, people judge. So majority of your customers are probably going to be RAPs, and they're very much, you know, been brought up with first impressions count. So as you approach their property, you know, if you're a bit willy-nilly and you don't give a fuck, and, you know, you get out of the van, throw your cigarette on the floor, or I'm giving the worst case scenario here, I'm not saying, you know, anyone's going to be near this. You open the gate and let it slam, you know, a bit of litter falls out your van, you make no effort to pick it up. You know, it's all stuff like that that people pick up on, and it just browns them off from the very start. So you've got that initial first impression where you've got that little introduction, and then you go from that to the quoting process. You need to be able to listen. So as much as communicating, You need to be able to listen and understand people and work out what they want, because sometimes they don't make it clear. Now, the best thing you can do with quoting, when you're there, as soon as you get there, you've got your quoting pad. I'll do a separate video on this, but you start jotting things down. You're making them aware that you're taking notes. Even if it's a grass cut, because I've been pulled up on grass cuts before where they've thought that, oh, I'll be doing the borders as well as the grass. Now, you ask for a mow and go, well, not a mow and go. You ask, that's the coverall term. You ask for a fortnightly grass cut, that's what you got. So listening to people as well. Most people might not know the Latin or even the plant names. They might know it as the green tall one. It flowers sometimes, you know, and you need to work that out. And you need to definitely work that out if it's coming to, oh, can you get it out for me? So communicating and listening to what they want is important, but also how you want to do things, or how you are going to do things, or how it should be done is just as important. A customer could have you do something that is hugely catastrophic to their garden, and if you do it, you know, it's going to be on your head. That's all. These are the sort of, you know, you don't get these all the time, but it can come up. So you've got the initial first impression when you're working out what they want. You've got the quoting process. It's all communicating and talking. And then you've got payment to the after, when you've done the job. So if you've done the job and you're never going to go back to them, you know, it's communicating that to get the money off them. It says, what happens if they, you know, they underpay you? So they've heard 130 and you've told them it's 150 and you've wrote it down on the quote, and they've acknowledged that, but somehow it's 130. You need to communicate that in a way where you're not, you know, picture the customer, you know, you're not trying to sort of diddle them out of money. You're trying to get what you quoted for, but they're adamant that it's 130. You know, it's all situations like that. And then afterwards, which is when I think communication and being a people person, and you know, this is when it really comes into place. This is up to you. You can have a relationship with a customer, and there's no harm in either approach, where you just tip up, do the work and go home. That's it. You never ever see him. You never ever, you know, you don't want to cross paths with him. You don't want to talk to him. That's fair enough. But I have picked up so much work or other work by being there and being friendly, not just to them, but people around them. So when you were working on somebody's property, you know, if you're mowing the front lawn and you're there pretty much, you know, yeah, once every 2 weeks, within the same sort of time, you'll see, you know, the dog walker, you'll see the woman who jogs, you'll see, you know, you become part of the sort of fixtures and fittings of that place just as much as you know, you almost become part of their routine. So they'll walk around and they'll wave at you. And if you're engaging, like obviously, you know, you've got a uniform on, you've got a van, they aren't idiots, they can see you gardening, but this all stems as well. If you look like a gardener, if you look like the bloke who, you know, you're tipped up in trackies and trainers, they'll think you're a relative. But if you look like a gardener and you're friendly and you pop a little smile and a little wave, then they are going to stop and they're going to see you and they're going to think, oh, you know, I need a gardener at some point. I'll keep my eye out for him, or I'll ask him. I've seen his work, he seems an okay bloke. And I've picked up so much work from just waving and smiling at people, and it's free and it takes you 2 seconds. It says another thing as well is upselling. You need to be able to, so part of my, not sales patter, but part of my, you know, pitch for when I turn up there and talk to them is that I mention other services that I'm able to offer. I explain to the customer that I have got a exterior cleaning business, so if you need any of your property, anything on the property cleaning outside, your power washing, conservatory, I do that. And I think if you've got other services, even if you're just a normal gardener, tip up. And it's sometimes it could be, and it's how you word it, but if you tip up and they want you to do the grass, ask who does the hedges, who does the shrubs. Do you have somebody in to do the shrubs, or, you know, do you do it yourselves? Just plant that seed with them, because they might be getting round to saying that to you, or they might not, and they might just think you're the guy who does the grass. I have a very simple advert. Is basically, my advert is, you know, SGM garden maintenance, nice and clear, and I list a few services, but it's self-explanatory. You know, I list some of the niche ones. I do put hedge cutting down, but it's amazing how many times where people call me up and they've seen my advert, and then they'll ask me, "You don't cut hedges, do you?" I just need my shrubs doing once a year. So sometimes, and that's why I tell them, because they might not know, or they might have glossed over it. So that's the little part on communicating and communication skills. I think it's important. I think it's one of the most important things, and I think good communication and having good people skills can basically even out qualities that you might not have. You might not have the best plant knowledge, you might not have the best knowledge on, you know, how to go about doing this thing in the best possible way, but if you're willing to admit and say to the customer that hey, I'm not, if she's saying about these roses, look, I'm not a huge expert on roses. If you would like, I can look them up, I can find out what they are, or I can listen to you and you can tell me how you want them cutting because it's worked for you. Again, communicating that. So the next part is a bit more customer talk. Is the first thing I can tell you, other than communication, is don't bullshit people. Don't bullshit them, don't lie to them. Some people out there, when you see how other gardeners refer to the customers, it's almost like, you know, I'm the gardener, fuck them, you know, it's my way or the highway. And they almost, how they speak on like Facebook about the customers, they speak as though they're idiots. Some are, don't get me wrong, you will meet them, but the majority of your customers, they aren't idiots, so don't treat them like that and don't bullshit them. If you've not done something, tell them. So if a customer, you know, comes out and she reels off 20 jobs for you while you're there and you miss one, don't bullshit to her and lie and say, oh yeah, I've done that. Because people, they aren't idiots. Just tell them the truth. I forget to do stuff, I forget to bring stuff. I've turned up before where, you know, I've said to the customer I'll bring her a tray of plants, and I've got there and she's asked me, and I've just said, look, I said I've had a really busy day today, I've completely forgot about it, I'll nip and get them now for you. And that's built much more sort of credit for me than, oh yeah, bloody hell, I'll tell you what, look, I went to the plant place, he didn't have any, and I went to another one. They can smell bullshit, so don't give it to them and don't feed it to them. Just the same as if you're late, well, timing as well. So for me, the only time I'll give a hard time for a customer is the first thing in the morning. So I'll say to the customer, I'll be there at 9 o'clock, because I can guarantee that. I know what the traffic lights in my area, so I can leave the house knowing there's going to be a bit of traffic and I can arrive there smack on. And people love that. There's some people that they'll mention, they'll say, oh, you're always on time. It's always because they're there at 9 o'clock. After 9 o'clock, if it's my second, third, fourth, I give time windows. Don't tie yourself into giving a time slot. It's the worst thing you can do, because if you say, yeah, I'll be there at 10:30, and your first job keeps you running over, you're automatically, you know, letting that customer down. You aren't, because actually when you think about it, they retired, you know, some of them, and I've had it before where people have created a bit of a stink up about it, and they're saying, oh well, you were late. So I'm sorry, is it kept you from going out? No, I'm in all day. It's because you give that time, you've said that to them, you've set that expectation. So for me, I give time windows, just as Amazon do, or Royal Mail, where they'll text you and they'll say, yeah, you know, your bloke will be here between 12 and 2. I say to the customer, yeah, I'll be here before 12 o'clock. And then that way, if they've got something to do, they can do it in the afternoon, because they know I will be there before. Just the same as if it's in the afternoon, I'll say, look, I'll be with you in the afternoon. Have you got a rough sort of time? Yep, I have between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Narrow down when you need to narrow down, but if not, you've got that whole window every afternoon. As I said, I think people, they do pick up on stuff like that. So don't bullshit them and don't tie yourself in. Now, conflict with customers can arise. It is unfortunate. I don't know if I said this yet. There's a saying around where I am. I don't know whether it's a colloquial saying, like a regional saying, or I don't know whether it's more widespread. It could be, but I've only heard it in my area. And the saying is, there's no as queer as folk. And basically what that means as well, what it says, is that there's nothing as weird as people. You will meet some amazing people on your gardening journey. You'll meet some people who really want to help your gardening business. They will do whatever they can to help it grow. They're the minority. It would be great if you could have more, but it isn't. But you will meet them. The rest of the people, they just want the job doing. They don't want any faffing. They don't want to do it themselves, or they can't. So they just want to get somebody in to do it. And they'll pay. They're happy with that. That it's a transaction for them. They might like you, they might not, but that's, you know, it is what it is. They just want you there to do something that they either can't or don't want to do. That's the relationship, that's the dynamic. But then there's a tiny percentage which are a pain in the arse. You might pick up on it in the first 5 minutes. You might pick up on it after the first visit. You might pick up on it after the first 3 visits. But they will materialise themselves and they will quickly come across as a complete and utter nightmare. Customers like that are to be avoided like the plague. You can't change them. I've done plenty of videos on this. You can't change them. Don't try and persevere. Don't try and, you know, bend to their will and, you know, think, oh well, you know, I'll stop it to get it their way, because it will never be right. You'll be constantly chasing your tail. You'll notice as well, and I'm sure you've had this, I've had this, you'll have experience with a customer, a bad one, and then you'll part ways, you won't go, they'll fuck you off, you'll fuck them off, whatever, it happens. And then next year you will have a phone call off them again, but they won't address you as, hey, it's Sam the Gardener, or it's Joe Blogs Gardening Services. It will be a vague, have you got any availability? Because people like that are used to having gardeners every single year because they can't keep them. They don't see it as, you know, they're a horrible customer, it's somebody else's fault, but that's part and parcel for them. Another thing as well is, on this same sort of conversation, the highs and lows in this game when it comes to customers are, you know, amazing. Basically, as I said, you've got people that will, you know, want to help your business, and there'll be people who basically will want to take everything you can, and try not to let the lows get you down. It's easier said than done, but trust me on this, it's better to not to do. How I see it to myself, I've had it before where a customer has picked at the price, picked at the quality, picked at the length of the visit, saying I should be there longer, everything, you know. I've had all of them over the years. And how I see it to myself is think to yourself, right, I've got 10 customers, I've got 20, I've got 30, I've got 40, I've got 50. I go to, you know, 30 different people every single week, and I have not had a complaint off any of them forever. But suddenly I've got one complaint off one woman, one bloke, that's saying I'm too expensive, I'm not there long enough, I should cut the grass longer, shorter, you know. Is it me? No, it isn't. Look at it percentage wise. You know, are you the odd one out? No, she or he is. That's how I come to terms with it, because otherwise it just drives me nuts. You get better at it, you really do. Another thing as well, while we're on this, is learn to admit to mistakes. You might not have to do it with a customer. There might be times where you don't admit and you just persevere on with it. But learning to acknowledge your own mistakes will help you get through things. Surround yourself with good people, because what you might find is that you might go to a job, balls it up, or you know, there's a problem basically, whether it's your fault or their fault. Some people will just tell you what they think you want to hear, and it's not helpful and it's not constructive. So trying to fish that out is very important. but learning to sort of see things maybe from another point of view is better. The last thing you want is to have a heated situation, whether it's a late payer or an underpayer, and you go back and you tell your mates down the pub, or you know, even Facebook gardening groups are just the same. Oh, fucking no, get it, fuck them, do this, do that, weed killer, whatever. And you know, it could either rile you up and you can make, you know, a worse situation, or heaven help it, you could go and act on it. Remember, in this game, reputation is everything, and people do talk. It's crazy how much communication goes on behind the scenes that you might not know. You could be gardening for Mr. Such and Such I've had this before, gardening for Mr. Such and Such for 3 years, brilliant customer, never any problems. I took on this woman at the start of the year, nothing but problems, complete nightmare, was always picking at it. I go to Mr. Such and Such, he's like, oh, do you like working for me sister? Didn't know at all. So again, be very careful. If you've got a bad experience with a bad customer, don't mention it to other people. Don't go down the pub spouting off saying, oh bloody Mrs. Such and Such is a right old boiler, because it will get back, especially if you're in a small town, small sort of village setting. Or it could get back. It might not, it might, but do you want to run that risk? You probably don't. So that is the customer's special. I'm going to do more like this. As I said, they're all going to be in a playlist, and I'm hoping it does help you. Let me know if you want any more topics. I will try my best to give you my opinion on the different topics. So have a good day, guys. Keep on gardening.